Welcome to episode 8 of Methanol Madness, brought to you by Ruapuna Speedway. A warm welcome back to AJ this week, who joins us as we fill him in on the action that he missed out on the last meeting, as well as preview what we've got coming up this weekend. To get the show started, we've got the Concut Crash of the week. This big tumble was during the Affordable Car Sales Battle of the Sixes feature on February 8th, with Danny Livingston in the white 25i there taking some serious barrel rolls towards the infield. AJ, a pretty large one here for Danny, able to walk away okay.
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it? And it's the old classic case of trying to fit 3 cars into where maybe only 2 are going to go, and rode a wheel, and that is all she wrote. Yeah, that is a big tumble, and the guys in the bunker, I think, might have been frozen on the spot.
Indeed we were. It was pretty impressive to see both Danny Livingston and a couple of the others involved in there as well. Most of them got restarts, with Jess Morris also coming to a DNF there, unfortunately. But we're now going to take a look at the rest of the racing from that night with the Ruapuna Speedway review of the week. Starting with the quarter midgets, Caden Simmons was off to a good start, picking up his first heat win, but Brodie Morris would go on to collect the feature win yet again in the 62C. He held off a hard-fought battle with Jackson Clark and topped it off with a worthy speech down in victory lane. After some relegations, the official podium ended with Caden Simmons second and Ryan Gallagher third. In the modified sprints, Harry McIntyre and Jaden Fraser each collected heat wins, with Fraser then going on to claim the feature victory. Liam Astle finished in second, lucky to avoid damage from earlier contact with a spun Brett Booth. Harry McIntyre had to fight for third place, first between himself and Liam Astle as he charged through the field, and then fending off Hayden Kedsley in some great battles there. AJ, the modified sprints have certainly been very competitive this year.
Yeah, all season long, and just when it looks like Liam Astle's going to just sweep the floor with everyone, Jaden Fraser comes up, and I really love watching Jaden Fraser race. He puts up such a good, honest performance, and he just never stops trying, and I think that's a big reason why the results do fall his way, because he reads the mood of the race so well. Harry McIntyre, given his breaks, he is almost unbeatable. When he sort of gets those opportunities, he does make the most of them.
So they've got the Avon Insurance Modified Sprint Clay Cup coming up at our meeting on March 8th. That's a big one for that class as well, and it'll be interesting to see who takes the top step there.
Yeah, it's a great thing for that class too. They raced up in Blenheim the other night, and I watched some of the action, and man, there's some very hard charging going on in it. And the series like that, it gives the drivers an incentive. It takes a class to somewhere where they've never seen them before, and there's some stellar performances up there. I thought Liam Astle, he went just like a rocket ship at times, especially those big long straights, and a good number of people were very surprised on the big track at Blenheim just how fast modified sprints are. They put up a good show.
Great to see that class getting some recognition all over the South Island as well. We got a glance into the carnage that ensued for the wingless sprints during their feature, but overall they had some really great battles and some hard and fast racing all night for their Battle of the Sixes series. Christchurch cars Andrew Gregg and Mark Morris claimed the heat races, but it was an all-visiting drivers podium in the end, with Blair Smith picking up the win. Second went to Mason Whelan, and third was Adam Evans. Another note for the wingless sprints that Corey Duckmanton raced at Bay Park Speedway for the first time last weekend. He travelled up north to compete in the Predator series going on up there. He picked up a heat win and ended up 7th place in the feature. AJ, great to see the Big Duck putting in some serious miles, getting around the country and getting some more laps in. Yeah,
and that's a really good result too, because the wingless sprints, or 6-shooters as they call them up there, are very, very strong. And they've got a number of power bases, a good number of cars from Rotorua and Auckland. And for the Duck to do that, he should be very, very happy with that result, and going to a very unfamiliar racetrack. Bay Park, a lot bigger than Ruapuna, a lot bigger than Ellesmere. Probably about as big as Cromwell, but a different shape. It's a traditional oval, and good on Corey. That's a great return.
And don't forget, with the Paul Smith Racing Wingless Rumble coming up in April as well, we're going to see many of those North Island competitors travel down during Speed Week as well, which will be a great addition to that class. It was also the midgets' final round of the City South Fan Spares Midget Super Series, and it was a complete sweep for Ben Morgan, who collected both heat wins. And then despite having a convincing lead, Jack Lowe unfortunately lost that with a late caution, and Ben Morgan drove away to complete his sweep of the final round. Second went to Glenn Jury and third Nathan Wilkie. The midgets are another class that I feel like have really stepped up their game this season, AJ, with lots of action going on and really competitive for those top 5 spots.
All season long, they've really put on some great performances, and you've got a blend of the, sort of the younger guys, the older guys like Glenn Jury and Jury is still very, very competitive. And then you've got someone like Liam McCoubry, who's got a couple of 3 seasons under his belt, and then you've got the resurgence of the likes of Jay Chadwick and so on. Ben Morgan, I think may have just about been the competitor of the season for me in regards to what he came back from Western Springs as. Posted a really good result up at the Springs, and he has generally carried that form back down here. What an outstanding prospect Ben Morgan is.
There was lots of action throughout the entire night for the midget class as well. There was this incident in the first heat race with Travis Buckley, and then another big time slide for Jay Chadwick, who made some pretty hard contact with the concrete wall. He was the series points leader coming into the final round, and once again, unfortunately, struck more trouble in the feature race, knocking him back to second on the overall points. Liam McCoubry finished 4th and was able to clinch the overall win for the Super Series, and Ben Morgan bumped himself up into the final podium position. AJ, it wouldn't be racing without a little controversy for the points when they're that close coming to the final round, as we've seen with the War of the Wings as well, and great to see them be so competitive and have those points be so close.
Yeah, and that's what sort of maintains the interest. If you've got someone just running away with the points, everyone sort of tends to go, oh, well, you can just about bank this. But it also gives the drivers a lot of hope. And you alluded to the War of the Wings. Before the Greymouths round, no one really gave Conor Rangi a chance. And it's kind of been a bit the same with the midgets. It's sort of been leapfrogging a little around. And I love a really good tight series, and that's what the midget cars have obviously delivered.
The joys of motorsport, it can all change with just a single bad race, or in Jay Chadwick's luck, unfortunately having a bad night for them, which is a shame after on the back of all of the success that they've been having this season. But the sprint cars were also there on February 8th, and we hosted the final Canterbury round of the War of the Wings, where Joel Myers Jr. put on another masterclass through lap traffic to pick up another War of the Wings win. Some very solid performances on the night too for Jonathan Allard and Matthew Levisage, who was in a hard-fought battle with Conor Rangi to round out the podium. There was an unfortunate DNF for Matt Honeywell, who'd been on a streak of really great results, and also great result from visiting driver Zachary Sokol, who finished in 5th. Nice to see the Sokols make the trip down as well, but pretty gutting for Matt Honeywell. Of course, he's been on such a tear, and we've spoken very highly of him on the show so far.
Yeah, I think Matt is in the best form of his very long career. I think it speaks volumes, not only for the Hydraulink War of the Wings series, but also Ruapuna, when we've got the likes of Jonathan Allard coming down here, making multiple appearances. Zach Sokol, he is an absolute champion in the making, and the series got good support. And even old mate the Sheriff, Jaden Dodge, making a return. I hope that's not a one-off, because he's the sort of driver that adds one heck of a lot. But you can sort of see a bit of a changing of the guard coming along in the sprint car class, and these young guys, the form and so on, and the skill set that they've got is just mind-blowing. And they're young guys. That's essentially what it is. So for Honeywell to be shining the way he is, it tells us what a great driver he really is, and he's always been a good solid performer, but I just think this year he's been above solid.
I think the combined age of the entire sprint car class is probably at the lowest it's ever been as well, which certainly spices things up as well. But then the Hydraulink War of the Wings headed up the island to finish the last 2 rounds of the series at Eastern States in Blenheim and the top of the South Speedway in Nelson. AJ, you made it back in time to head up for those 2 rounds. What was that like for you?
It was really good getting back up to the top of the South. We were a bit down on car numbers, like Matt couldn't climb up the points thing because he's got a farm to run, and it's the time of the year that they're cashing in. So we lost a couple of guys with work commitments. We lost a couple of guys with engines, and we lost a couple of guys with crash damage. So to get 12 cars up there, it was good, and it was actually probably just the right number of cars to run the feature race at Blenheim as well. Blenheim being longer, a little narrower. And so on, but very fast, and the Blenheim club and crowd responded. They had the biggest Friday night crowd, one of them said, that they've ever had. And the other thing they wanted was someone to get into the 13-second bracket, and Joel Myers did that. And going into the Blenheim round, it was going to be Conor Rangi's series to lose, but over the 2 nights, he couldn't let Myers get any more than 5 places ahead of him combined in the 2 feature races. So Conor just absolutely needed to keep his nose clean. It was a Joel Myers show. He pretty much dominated right from the get-go. Some really good, encouraging performances. But the drive of Joel Myers up there was mind-blowing. The crowd were just lapping it up. And I think they know what a special talent the kid is. But, the local guys were by no means disgraced. And, Conor Rangi, I thought, was exceptional up there. It was hard fought, even though there was only the 12 cars. And, some of the guys that were a little back in the points picked up some really solid placings. And the Dirty Dozen sort of took a real hit. And, it's rewarded guys for consistency and rewarded guys for supporting the series.
Joel Myers Jr. picked up both feature wins at Blenheim and in Nelson as well to finish second in the series to Conor Rangi. AJ, that means that Daniel Anderson Racing swept the entire War of the Wings series this season, between Max picking up 2 wins and Joel picking up the rest of them. It was a pretty impressive feat for those guys, and if anyone can do it, it's that team.
It is, and they are the form setters in New Zealand sprint car racing right now. And I would not be surprised if they're very prominent at the Nationals. Dan Anderson, he's passionate about his racing as a driver. He was a really good driver. He loves his sprint car racing. They've got a great setup, but I think the ace in the pack is Joel Myers' mechanical ability above his driving ability, because for an 18-year-old kid, the knowledge that he has got in setting up race cars is well beyond his years. And he's not only looking after his car and Max's car, but he's helping Dylan Forsey. And Dylan's form this year has been really good. And a big part of that is sort of adapting to the way that Joel has been setting the car up. So not only has Joel Myers got one hell of a future as a race car driver, but his mechanical knowledge and ability gives him one hell of a head start over a lot of other drivers, both here and in the USA.
Despite all those efforts, unfortunately, one DNS for Joel Myers Jr. kind of set him back on the points and let Conor Rangi take the lead. As the newly crowned War of the Wings champ and the first to dethrone Joel Myers Jr. in the last 2 years, we welcome Conor Rangi to the show tonight. Joining us on the show now is Dalton's driver of the 57N, Conor Rangi, who just picked up his second War of the Wings championship. Conor, a pretty stellar season for you guys, getting some really good results and consistent across the whole season.
Yeah, it's been a really good season for us. So I feel like we started off really strong and got out the box fast straight away, and have kind of kept that speed going throughout the season and just been building each meeting, getting to the point where we are now. And I think we're really happy with where we're going.
Rewinding back to when you were just a young boy coming to Speedway, you grew up in Nelson. What was that like for you, kind of watching, and how did you get into racing and end up in sprint cars?
Always went to Speedway and was always watching and interested in it, and then got into mini stocks when I was 12, and then obviously seen sprint cars at Nelson a couple times a year, and just loved the sound and the speed and just everything about them, and thought that would be something that I'd really want to give a go. And got an opportunity when I was 17, and from the moment I got it, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And
So you picked up the War of the Wings championship back in 2022, and you've just picked up your second one now, 2025. What was the differences that you've kind of noticed compared to that season to this season?
I think the competition every year just builds, and just gets tougher and tougher. So I think this one was just a little bit harder with just the amount of cars we have now. There's just so many guys on any night that can win or get on the podium, and that obviously the first one was really special and always will be, but definitely cool to win a second one and to win it at home in Nelson in front of the home crowd, and that's really special for me.
Winning these championships as a sprint car driver is probably something that you aspired to do since you were young, getting into mini stocks, and when you knew that you wanted to go into sprint cars. What does the sport mean to you and being involved in such a great community?
Oh, the sport means everything to me. I obviously grew up, watching the sport, and now that I'm competing in it, I just love it so much, and so many good people, met so many good people, made so many good friends, and have just built a great relationship with everybody around me, and have just got an amazing team that back me 100%.
So you took the points lead in Greymouth earlier this year for the War of the Wings series and kind of didn't look back ever since then. Obviously those consistent results really key for that. But you're coming into the final round with only a 10-point lead. What was kind of your mental game going into that final round and knowing that you had to put together a really stellar night to stay ahead of Joel?
Yeah, I knew that I needed to put 2 really good nights together this past weekend. And I think I learned a lot winning the first championship. You just learn how to deal with that stuff, and just for racing for as long as I have now, you just treat it as another night, and you just do the best that you can do, and the outcome will be what it'll be. So we just put our best foot forward and just focus on trying to win on the night, and yeah, hopefully winning the championship.
So obviously that mental game is really important in sprint car racing, and we've seen it multiple times this season as well with guys that have had some bad luck really thrown at them and have to kind of bounce back from that time and time again. But you only had 1 DNF across of the War of the Wings series this year, and every other round you were within that top 5, with many of those being podium finishes as well. Obviously consistency was key. How do you get to that point in a team of getting to that level of being so consistent every week?
Yeah, I think that takes time. You build that over years of racing and understanding what you've got to do to finish these races. I mean, we all want to win on the night, but at the end of the day, we're racing for a championship, so there's a bigger picture there. It's just trying to rack up the podiums and just be there at the end to give yourself a chance to win.
You're based down in Christchurch now, but obviously getting to go back and race at your home track is pretty special to you, and to get to clinch that championship while you were up there and get to celebrate in front of a hometown crowd, what was the emotions like for you and the family getting to celebrate that one at home?
Yeah, it was a pretty cool feeling. It was something that I've wanted to do for a while, was to win something big up there, and yeah, it was just amazing to have all my family there and friends, and just felt like the whole stadium was just behind me the whole night, and yeah, so it was a really amazing time for our team.
The Daltons is a big part of that team for you guys as well, with that partnership coming with seasoned drivers like Jonathan Allard, who are right in your corner as well. So how's it been for you guys with developing that relationship between Daltons and some of their more seasoned drivers as well, and what advice does Allard kind of give you to coach you along?
Yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, they're an amazing group of people. I wouldn't be racing without them, obviously, and they just believe in me and back me all the way. And Jonathan's been amazing. Anything that I need or any questions I have, he'll answer them the best he can, and tell me everything I need to know, and just point me in the right directions of, you need to do this or do that. And yeah, he's just been really good for me.
So you've got, obviously the sprint car community is pretty tight-knit with you guys travelling together a lot and getting to experience all of these races together at different racetracks all over the country. What is it like for you with that community being in your corner and balancing having friends on the track and kind of how you balance that being competitive?
Yeah, once you get on the track, you just you're out there to do a job, and you just worry about yourself and do your own thing. But yeah, for sure, it's pretty amazing to have all these people backing both of us on any given night, and then we can bounce off each other. And yeah, I think the team's in a really good spot, and everyone's just having a great time, enjoying each other's company, and just going racing and doing what we love.
So now you've picked up the War of the Wings Championship, and that part of the season is behind you. It gets into the New Zealand title. Next couple of weeks is preparation for that for you guys, which unfortunately means you're going to miss out this weekend at Ruapuna. But with those plans kind of coming up, how are you approaching the next couple of weeks in the North Island?
Yeah, very excited to get the opportunity to go up there and race again. We're just going to put our best foot forward and try and go and win some races at the end of the day. So yeah, we're going to go to Western Springs next weekend for the 50 lapper, and then hopefully on to Bay Park, and then the big one at Kiki for the New Zealand title.
What's your experience like at those tracks that you've raced at before, and are you feeling pretty comfortable in what you guys have to take up there, that you'll be fast and competitive?
Yeah, I feel very confident in our car and our team. We've only raced at Western Springs, we haven't raced at the other tracks, so it's going to be learning on the go, trying to learn as fast as we can on the night, and just seeing where we end up at the end of it.
Similar to picking up the championship with the War of the Wings, you've also got these New Zealand titles that will play like a big mental game for you guys as well. Are you going to go into those approaching them as another race, or is there a little bit of pressure built up there for you?
No, it's just another race. I think you just can't let that pressure get to you, and you just go in there, and yeah, it's just another race. You go and try and win the race, and at the end of it, hopefully we're at 1NZ.
So there's obviously a lot of people following along on your journey, but for those watching at home that aren't sure of where to get your results, what's your Facebook page and where can people find you?
They can find us on our Facebook page, Rangi Motorsport.
And with that support that you have such a fan base following you as well, with the Daltons partnership really kind of amplifies that for you as well. Do you feel like a lot of support from the fans? And obviously when you go to Nelson as well, that hometown crowd is pretty special for you, but getting to interact with the fans, what's that like as a driver for you?
Yeah, we have an amazing fan base as a team. I feel like we've got some of the best fans, honestly. There's people that I don't think they've missed a race this season, and they're probably not planning on missing any for the rest of the season. They follow us everywhere and come down before and after the meetings and buy merch and just tell us we're doing a good job, and that's really special, and it's super important to have that connection with the fans as well, because without the fans we don't have the sport at all. So yeah, it's really amazing to have these awesome people in our sport.
So you've got sponsors and also your family that's involved in the team. Is there anybody that you kind of want to thank for everything that they do for the 57 team?
Yeah, I just want to thank my whole crew. Without them, we wouldn't be able to get to the track and have a fast race car like we do every single meeting. They put a lot of work in. Thanks to my sponsors, thanks to Daltons. Without them, we wouldn't be racing at all. They give us all the equipment that we need to be fast, and back me 100%, believe in me all the way. Gary Cochran, my Suzu, Brian Hum Contracting, Garden City Drainage and Civil, Heavy Diesel New Zealand. Without all these people, it wouldn't happen. And yeah, so thanks to everyone involved in this awesome team.
Well, thanks for your time tonight, Connor. If you want to follow along with Connor's journey as he heads up north in search of the New Zealand title, you can follow him at Rangi Motorsport on Facebook, and we will see him back at Ruapuna for Speed Week in April. Well, it was great to get Connor's thoughts on wrapping up that championship. AJ, always nice to hear from drivers and see that they got to celebrate adequately as well, and well-deserved for the Rangi family.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they've sort of toiled, they've stuck at it, and you know, he's obviously very, very grateful for all the support he gets, not only from Daltons, but the moral support and advice from Jonathan Allard and the race fans. And he actually summed it up. You know, without the fans, we don't have Speedway. And how good was that? You talked about the celebration. When we did the presentation in the Nelson club rooms, it just about took the roof off the place, you know. And so it meant a lot to Connor and his family and crew for that. But it also showed that, you know, the prodigal son had returned to Nelson for the night, and he's very much still the Nelson boy, even though he's lived in Christchurch now for a good number of years. The club lapped it up. They really did, and the crowd gave him one hell of an ovation.
Well deserved as well. So we thank Connor once again for his time and joining us on the show tonight. But we'll get into our giveaways now, which will start off with our share and win giveaway. These 10 people have picked up one adult pass each to this weekend's South Island Midget title. Our winners this week are Melissa Rutherford, Keegan Lowe, Joshua Woolhouse, Heather McClure, Cherie Shipton, Ashley Scott, Charles Gardner, Pauline Lucas, Nick Watson and Simon Mathewson. Congratulations to those 10. You will have an adult pass waiting for you at the VIP booth of the main ticketing office. Now we can have a look at what's happening this weekend on track with the Ranch Bar and Grill preview of the week. AJ, another pretty big show with a New Zealand title with the South Island Midgets as well, so we've got plenty to look forward to, and I'm sure you're looking forward to getting back in the booth.
Oh, absolutely, I am. I missed it. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, it's going to be a really interesting night. I think this is going to put the South Island midget guys to the ultimate test among themselves. You know, there's a big difference between running a series over 3 or 4 rounds and a one-off opportunity to be the South Island champion. And it's a very long-standing event that started in the late 50s, and it's got a lot of history to it. And it's going to be one of those classic cases where just one little bit of misfortune or one little stroke of luck is, I believe, going to sort of take someone into victory lane. And they will have deserved it because it's just so competitive this year.
Starting with the entries for some of our support classes for tomorrow night. We've got the quarter midgets back again, sporting another pretty large field as well. There's plenty of fast guys and girls filtered throughout this field that have really put the competition on this weekend. We're probably expecting to see Jackson Clark or Brodie Morris head back into victory lane, but we've got all sorts of guys and girls, as I said, creeping their way into these podium positions as well, and it's really anyone's game, AJ. These young kids are obviously the future of the sport, and it's great to see them get so many laps in it at Ruapuna and get to experience what it's like to kind of almost win on the big stage.
Yeah, I love what they're delivering on the track, which is just really good hard-fought competition. But now we're starting to get some of the characters emerging, and you know, that victory speech the other night was an absolute classic, and you know, it shows that the kids too are buying into the whole concept of, you know, Saturday night, it's not only Speedway night, but it's showtime. And Brodie Morris, that was a master stroke, and I bet he's got a few more fans after it too.
I definitely think so. We've also got the TQs now that all their championships are complete. We've got the smallest field of TQs that I think we've seen all season, but nonetheless still full of plenty of talent. Guys like Lockie Brett picked up his first podium finish at Nelson in the weekend, AJ, and obviously the Finlay's up there as well, and Scott Bailey's probably long overdue a visit to victory lane.
Yeah, it's still close on 20 cars, isn't it? So it's going to be fairly cutthroat, and again, it's going to give someone a real opportunity to make a bit of a stand and put their mark on it. So yeah, TQs have just, again, a bit like the midgets and sprint cars, have been just so competitive. In fact, I think every class this year has absolutely delivered in the competitive nature.
Speaking of those competitive classes, it's also the Modified Sprints final round of their Avon Insurance King of the South series. Now, this is obviously a big deal for them as well. They've got a lot of meetings this year that they've really kind of upped their ante on it, as they say, and really improved on kind of how competitive the class is, which is shown in the attraction that they've had and all of the numbers that they've been able to pull. Guys like Liam Astle are obviously looking to pick up a win, but Liam is pretty far down on these series points, AJ, so he's obviously got a lot of work to do if he wants to climb up the ladder there, but Jaden Fraser and Harry McIntyre right at the top of those points standings.
Yeah, it is going to boil down, in my opinion, to between Fraser and Harry. You know, those two actually tend to bring the best out of each other. And if you just sort of look at the battle that those two have, you know, they're two like-minded drivers. And yeah, Fraser, he's going to be awfully tough to knock off here in the final round. But yeah, I'll put my money on Harry, good local boy, and boy, does he deserve it.
Definitely. So not only with their feature, but also the overall points will be decided on the night as well. A quick run through of the current top 5 there. Jaden Fraser leads on 188 points. Harry McIntyre in second on 185. Third place sits Hayden Kedsley on 179. Fourth place Luke Cook with 155. And fifth place Josh Lilly on 116 points. We can probably expect to see those shake up a little bit, but once again, that series brought to you by Avon Insurance, is a fantastic thing for that class, and it would be nice to crown a winner of that on Saturday night. We've also got the wingless sprints back again, AJ. These guys have really been putting on a show this season, and unfortunate, obviously, what happened with some of them being taken out with that crash at the last meeting, but guys like Corey Duckmanton and Chris Dempsey are knocking on the door of those wins.
They're getting so close to it, aren't they? And, you know, like Shooter Hawkins, you know, he's not too far away from becoming the winningest feature winner in history at Ruapuna for the wingless sprints. But, you know, these other guys have got the measure of him. But Shooter's one of those guys that when he's sort of like a little back in the field, he is an attack driver. He just doesn't know how to drive defensively, and he will go all out. So he does fly the flag for the older boys. And the big duck, he'll be really keen just to continue that development and growth and the form that he obviously is into a good streak of form.
Awesome to see TQ driver Montana Jameson also on the entry lists to race in a wingless sprint this season. Last meeting we had Jess Morris step out of the TQ and into the wingless sprint, and now it's Montana's turn, it seems, AJ. But pretty cool to see those girls step into a different class and experience what it's like to race that at Ruapuna.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it just sort of builds something in their own career, gives them a taste of something a little bit different. And I've always maintained that drivers that come out of TQs actually can race anything because you've got a certain power band, and that is it. That's how much you've got to use, and they use every bit of it. And so you know, you put them into something that's a V6 and they're going to hit it pretty quickly. So I'm expecting big things of Montana this weekend. She's a great wee driver.
It's also the final round of the Dalton's Sprint Car Summer Slam, a 3-round series hosted just by Ruapuna Speedway. Unfortunately, AJ, the top 3 in points are not going to be there this weekend. We've got Jamie Duff, Matthew Levisage, Jonathan Allard, Joel Myers Jr. and Max Guilford headed up to Western Springs this weekend to compete for the Sprint Car GP. Fantastic to see those guys make that trip up there, and we wish them the best of luck. But that does mean that we're going to probably see someone local take victory lane in the sprint car class on Saturday night, AJ.
You take those guys out and man, does it open it right up. And like you say, it's a small field of sprint cars and great to have the continued support of the guys. What this does is it technically puts Kyle Glover at the top of the point standings, and Kyle is a guy who has just continually improved on the Hydraulink War of the Wings series this year long, and he knocked together some great performances. Big chance for him to hang another sash on the wall in the garage. Job Quantock, first year in sprint cars, and he's there in second points. And so, you know, here's an opportunity for one of those two to make a big statement.
We've also got Martin Harcourt returning to sprint cars, stepping into his son Oscar's car for the weekend. It'd be nice to see him return, as well as we've got guys like Bailey Clive and Caleb Bourne also right up there. And it'd be nice to see them get some really good results.
It would be, you know, a lot of these guys have had, you know, just little issues as the season's gone on. So all you really want for them is to just have a good, clean, confidence-boosting run. It'd be awesome to see Martin back behind the wheel. You know, he was always one of those drivers that put up just a really nice, tidy performance. He might be a little bit rusty, but I've got a lot of confidence in Martin. So, you know, let's just see how he goes. He hasn't raced for like 3 seasons. He's been barking out the orders in the pits, and I dare say Oscar will be watching the live stream from whatever part of the world he's in now. And yeah, Martin better deliver or he'll get a phone call.
And once again, thank you to Daltons for their support of that series and of sprint car racing all around New Zealand as well, with a couple of their drivers obviously headed up to the North Island to chase that New Zealand Championship as well. But the big event on Saturday night is the K&T Drainage Midget South Islands. So this is going to be really something for them to aim for, AJ. Obviously, they've been competing in their series all season long, but finally getting to kind of get to that championship point for a lot of these guys and aim to pick up a South Island title.
Yeah, different beast, isn't it? The one night stand. And, you know, in recent weeks, it's pretty obvious that, you know, Ben Morgan is right on top of his game, but there's really not many drivers in that field that you'd write off. And each of them has had their opportunity. Liam McCoubrey will be desperate to get a South Island Championship win for his car owner, Selwyn Everett, who's certainly, got a pretty damn good record in it. Glenn Jury, I don't know how many more years we're going to get to watch Glenn race, but he is still ultra competitive. And we've talked on numerous occasions about Jay Chadwick, and man, if they get that car just performing right, and if he has the luck that he needs, not getting caught up in other people's stuff. I would not be at all surprised if Jay Chadwick hangs his hat up in victory lane and says, well, we've got one.
Plenty of people on this list looking to pick up their first South Island title, including Ben Morgan, who's finished second in the last 2 runnings of the event. And I know that he's very keen to put the Graham Hill Roofing Midget in victory lane to pick up that title. There's a few others in here that have also clinched South Islands before. Jack Lowe is a previous winner of the event, and Tom Lumsden as well. And Jeremy Webb returns to the midget class, who has previously won 4 of these, including last year's. AJ, we've seen him pick up his 6th New Zealand TQ title earlier in the season, and now aiming to pick up those midget wins again.
Yeah, he's a championship racer, isn't he? A champion performs at the championship events, and he just seems to have that something extra up his sleeve each time. Very race savvy, he's raced in Australia, he's raced in the States, and we're really fortunate to have him here pretty much every Saturday night, and he adds that little bit of class. Jack Lowe, all fire and brimstone, he'll get the elbows up regardless of where he is in the field. Jeremy Webb, he's not going to give up his holding of the South Island crown easily.
Great to have all of those guys entered with a really solid midget field for the K&T Drainage South Island midget title as well. But all of that and more going on tomorrow night at Ruapuna Speedway. It's a big race program. Once again, we've got the Dalton Series, the South Island title, as well as the modified sprints, AJ. There's always lots going on at Ruapuna, and we're getting closer to that speed week as well. So I'm sure that there's plenty of highlights that we can look forward to the next couple of weeks to get us through until then.
Yeah, it's going to be really good, isn't it? And an opportunity for the drivers right across the board to have the spotlight shining on them. After sort of the Hydraulink War of the wings, the sprint cars do tend to grab a lot of the headlines and so on. But, the support classes on those nights, it is their night to shine, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Will be great to see everybody there at the track tomorrow night. But that brings this episode of Methanol Madness to an end tonight. My thanks to AJ for joining me here tonight as we prepare for this weekend's K&T Drainage South Island midget title. If you want to be there, the gates open from 4:30 with the racing starting at 6 p.m. You can purchase tickets at the gate or online at ruapunaspeedway.co.nz. If you can't be trackside, RJPTV will bring you the live stream on their website. But we'll be back with another episode in a couple of weeks. So until then, keep your foot up it.